Hi, everybody. It's me, Jessica, your health fitness program manager from McLean, and I'm bringing you an awesome yin yoga class that is perfect if you're finding you have a lot of muscle strain, tension, or discomfort in your quads, glutes, inner, outer thighs, and legs in general. So, this yin yoga class is definitely made for runners or cyclists, but if you found that you've been walking around a lot, or you're just really tight from sitting back at your desk or lots of travel, this is for you. We're going to get started in just a couple seconds in child's pose. Feel free to gather some blocks. You won't need many props for today's class, but have some around in case you need them. Remember, there's no actual water breaks, but if you need to take a moment and have a sip of water for yourself, absolutely do that too. All right. And then as you're ready, make your way down onto your mat and let's go ahead and get started. Open your knees as wide as feels comfortable for you. Go ahead, bring your toes together. Start to walk your hands forward and release your head down onto the floor for child's pose. We're going to be here for about 3 minutes. If it feels too much for you to have your head down on the floor, think about placing your head on a block. You can walk your hands out as far forward as feels good for your shoulders today, or take as generous of a bend that you need, maybe creating a little extra relaxation in your upper back body. While we're here, begin tuning into your breath. With every exhale, feeling tension just melt away as you sink a little bit deeper into your mat. With every inhale, focus on the expansion and space that you're creating within the back side of your body. Now's a great time to set an intention for your practice. What brought you to your mat today? Maybe your intention is just to find a little bit more movement and space and relax. Maybe you're hoping to rid yourself of some negative stored energy and emotions within your hips, low back, and legs. Maybe you don't even know why you're here. All of those are awesome reasons for showing up. That's all you need to do is show up. Start your first scan of your body from the top of your head, through your shoulders, your fingers, through the center line and glutes, all the way down to your toes. And just notice how your body is feeling today. Are there any spots that feel more tight or tense? And it's normal if maybe you feel that today, maybe one side feels a little bit tighter than the other. Because we're here now to create space to just let it go. And hopefully, as you continue to check in on yourself, you can do your best to create relaxation in your tense spots. And in 42 minutes from now, I hope you're feeling even better than when you got started. Wherever your hands are, start to walk them towards the center of your body. So hands, palms are going to stack right underneath of your chest and shoulders. Get your hips on top of your heels. Elbow creases shine in towards each other, taking just a moment in your neutral tabletop, pressing the tops of the feet into the floor, the shins, the knees, the hands, palms, no sinking in the shoulders, a little contraction of the core, and as much length as you can create in the neck. And then start with the hips, belly comes down towards the floor, chest pulls forward towards your biceps, eye gaze up towards the ceiling for cat. Take your time. Once again, leading with the movement of the hips to find the rounding in your back as you press up into count. Now, as you continue to move through for this next minute, find any variation of cat-cow that feels right for your body today. So maybe you give yourself a couple extra little shakes of your hip from side to side. Maybe you give yourself some shakes in your shoulders, or you can just stick with traditional cat-cow. If you're moved to make it happen, go ahead and experiment with it right now. Recognizing that if you're really tight from your physical activity or workplace setup, and some of these stretches might be really uncomfortable today. It's normal to feel uncomfortable. We're looking to create noticeable, uncomfortable stretches. If at any point anything you're doing becomes painful, gently ease your way out. Find a new place to just stop and create your stillness. Next, we're going to lift ourselves up onto our knees. I'm going to adjust the camera for a sec, and we are going to bring the right foot forward. Oh my gosh, Jessica, as we come into a little lunge. So right foot's going to come forward from this tabletop position and then shift the weight forward. You can use your blocks on the floor if the floor feels really far away. And we're here for a little over a minute from right now. Notice if there's a lot of rounding in your back, and can you pull your chest forward, create a little bit more length through the crown of your head and in your spine. Take a little squeeze of your back left glute and think about squeezing your inner thighs in towards each other to make sure that your hips are not shifting over to the right. So really hug the outer edge of your right hip in. Find one spot to focus your eyes or close them and tune back into your breath. Start to heel toe your right foot a little wider to the side of the mat. Move your right hand to the inside of your foot or ankle. Your hands can still be on the block. Maybe your elbow is even pressing against your knee, and you can even really push that knee out for a little overstepping dragon, a bigger stretch towards your inner thigh. We've got just a couple of breaths left right here. Big stretch for that right inner thigh, quad, hip, left hip flexor. Keep pressing the top of the left foot and left knee, left shin down into the floor. Still finding that lift of your chest as you can. Last two breaths. Great. After that next exhale, start to walk that right foot in again. And you can even start to wiggle your right foot forward as you send your hips back towards your heels. Bring your hands palms underneath of your shoulders. Flex your right toe towards your face. Notice if your hips big time shifted to the left. Do your best to keep your left glute, left knee in line with your left heel behind you and keep flexing right toes up towards your face. You can take as deep of a forward hinge, maybe belly comes towards the thighs, maybe head, nose comes more towards knees. You can take some rounding in your back here if it feels good for you. We're here for a little more than 1 minute. Good time to remind you that it's normal if you're feeling any sort of shaking or trembling. We're holding these stretches for longer than usual to give our body a chance to move past that fight or flight feeling and sensation and relax in the stretch to create a little bit more opening and space. You've got this. Keep tuning into your breath. How quiet can you make your inhale and exhale? If someone else was in the room, can you breathe so relaxed and so quietly that they wouldn't even hear you? And if you find that you're huffing and puffing a lot through your stretch, you might have come into something a little bit too deep. So let that breath be your guide throughout the rest of class. Long, slow, deep inhales in through the nose, even slower exhales out through the nose or mouth. All right, start to bring your right foot down. We're going to shift the weight forward one more time, a little deeper of a hip opener. This time, left hand comes down towards the floor or your block. Inhale your right arm up towards the ceiling. Still thinking about hugging that outer right hip over towards the left side of the body. And take a little bit more pride, a little more lift of your chest and engagement through your upper back. You can either look up at all five of your amazing fingers that are touching each other, tighter is lighter, or if it helps, you can continue to balance gazing down towards the floor or wherever feels natural for your neck. One more big inhale. Exhale, bring your hands down towards the floor. Start to tuck your back toe under. We're going to press ourselves up and step the left foot to meet with the right. Take your time. You can do it. Maybe you even baby step that foot forward, 2 feet together. Take a generous bend in your knees and hinge from the hips, belly resting on thighs for a dangle. Maybe you can stack your blocks and place your hands on the blocks. Maybe you grab hold of your opposite elbow, shift a little bit more weight towards your toes, really press through all four corners of the feet. And then engage through your back so shoulders are pulling down towards your hips, shoulder blades pulling in towards each other. Gives you more space for your head to relax and dangle to the floor. Come back to the big breaths on the back side of your body. And we are here for another 2 minutes. Keep shifting the weight towards your toes. Try not to let it settle all the way into your heels here. Still a little pressure into the back of the foot. And remember, as generous of a bending your knees as you need. Bet you're doing awesome. You've got less than 1 minute. Just focus on your stillness and breath. If you have a generous bend of your knees still, and it feels okay, you can work to lift your hips a little bit higher as we come towards the end of this dangle. We already started to open the right side of the body, so check in. Do things feel any different on the right side versus the left? On your next inhale, come up into a half lift. Ooh, I lost my space. Hands can come to shins. Stretch your glutes towards the back wall. Find a nice flat back for a moment. And then exhale, head back down towards the floor. Hands come towards the floor. Keep your block there. Let's step the right leg back. Ooh, so tight. Bring that right knee, oh my gosh, down towards the floor. And we're going to come into our lizard pose on the opposite side. You might need to walk or wiggle your left toes forward and then start to shift the weight forward as you come into the stretch. First, just noticing if you have a lot of rounding in your back, normal as you get in. So work to pull your chest forward, just like we do in cow, to find a slightly longer back. Once again, start to squeeze your outer left thigh and hip in towards the right side of the body. 1 minute left here. I just realized last time I had my foot on the inside of my leg. So if you did that this time, that's okay. We are still going to heel toe the left foot out a little bit further for this last minute. You can use your elbow or simply just stretch the left knee to the left side of the room more. Right hip comes a little bit closer to the mat. Find that length through your spine, through the crown of your head. Take those wrinkles out of your neck. You can shift a little weight back into your right knee as you heel toe your left foot back in inside of your hands and then start to shift your right glute towards your left heel. So walk your hands back. So hands come underneath of shoulders again. And if you want, you can extend your left foot a little bit further forward. Start flexing toes back towards your face. And keep in mind that both sides of the body are not the same. So you might not be able to get as deep on one side as the other. That's okay. Taking this hinge from your hips, do your best to not let your weight shift over to the right side of your mat. And if you need more, you can always hinge forward a little bit more or round yourself down in this hamstring stretch. A reminder that all of our stretches today, besides that opening child's pose, are just 1 or 2 minutes. So just breathe through it, find your focus. And if your mind is drifting, or if you just keep thinking, ouch, tune back into your breath. Take the time to maybe count the length of your inhale, count the length of your exhale. Remember to keep breath first, and before you know it, the posture is going to be over. Start to walk your hands forward again, shifting the weight forward again. Right hand either comes down to the floor or your block. As you inhale, left arm up towards the ceiling. Make sure you're not sinking into that right arm. So really find this big lift and length. All five of your left hand fingers touching each other. You can turn and look up at your left hands. A little extra bit of a stretch in your upper back, shoulders, neck. You can let your eye gaze just gently fall where it does. Or if you're struggling with balance, keep your eyes down on the floor. On your next exhale, bring your left hand back down towards the floor. Shift the weight back into your right knee. Bring your left knee and next to your right. Ooh, that was amazing. Take your time. We're going to come onto our glutes and into staff pose. So sending your legs out in front of you, hands coming right by the hips. Notice if as you sat down, if your shoulders were all the way back behind your hips, if your shoulders were really forward of your hips, you can always walk those hips back a little bit if your shoulders were behind you. Do your best to just stack shoulders, hips on the mat, pressing your sit bones down. Flex your toes back towards your face, big lift of your chest, engagement through the back, length through the crown of your head, right here in staff pose. I know if the back of your legs are really tight that this might be hard. So if you need to, take a slight little bend of your knees, still pressing your heels into the floor and flexing your toes to the face. One more big inhale. On your exhale, bring your hands behind you. Take a moment, bob your knees, windshield wipe your legs. Awesome. Next up is butterfly. So go ahead, bring the soles of your feet towards each other. And if your knees were really lifted as you brought the soles of the feet together, go ahead, place a block under the outside of the knees so you have something for them to lean on. And if you don't need that block, you don't have to have that block. You might already feel enough of a stretch of your hips, so much so you even need to have your hands behind you. But if you don't, maybe you have your hands on your knees, maybe you have your hands making a bowl around your feet. Once you've hinged from the hips, you can take a gentle rounding forward. We're going to be here for a little more than 1 minute from right now. Are your shoulders crept up towards your ears? Can you create some space and length there, even if you're rounded forward? All right, we're going to transition into just a half butterfly. So go ahead, lift yourself up and extend one leg forward. Your choice which leg you're extending forward. This time I'm going to have my left leg in and my right leg straight. You can also come into this a little bit deeper if you want and go for a half lotus, working to bring the sole of your foot up towards your hip crease. We're just hanging out right here for 1 minute, finding some length in your spine, creating a gentle little forward hinge. And it's okay if your inner sole is not touching your other thigh. Maybe it's more towards the center line of your body. You're just working to gently open one hip at a time. Next up, we're going to come into pigeon or sleeping swan. So whichever leg you have extended in front of you, you can lean towards the opposite knee, and we're going to swing this leg behind us. You can adjust as much as you need to. So if we're doing the same, left toes are to the right side of the mat, and you're walking your right leg back behind you. You can stay really lifted right here, working to get that right hip crease closer towards the mat. Left glute is probably floating. Or if you want, you can always lower yourself down a little bit closer towards the mat. We've got just over a minute to go right here. If you came down on your forearms, bring your hands palms back underneath of your chest and shoulders. Lift yourself up. And now we're going to shift and bring glutes on the floor. Take a generous bend of your right leg to come in two 90-degree angles for deer pose. You can have your left foot touching on your right thigh and be really close. You can have your right foot out nice and wide, or if you want more of a quad stretch right now, bringing that right heel closer to your glutes. Hands might be on the floor behind you. Hands might be on your knees. If you're really having trouble here, turn towards that front bent left leg. I'm going to gently turn towards the camera so you can see what's happening if you need a gaze. For the next posture, we're going to change into in just about 1 minute. So still hanging out in this 90-degree deer pose. How much can you get that back right glute towards the floor? Okay. We're going to keep our bent right leg exactly where it is, right behind us. And we're going to take this left leg towards the front and gently wiggle, walk, straighten it out. And we find ourselves in half saddle. So one leg is towards the back. You might still have things really nice and wide. I do recommend, if you hadn't brought your heel a little closer towards your glute, to try and do that right now. Can you get the top of your foot towards the floor? You can even bring your hands behind you. Maybe you come down onto your forearms, or you can stay nice and lifted. Perhaps you're just working to try and get your seat on the floor and be comfortable in this half saddle. You might have your hands in front of you. We got 1 minute left, so just do what feels right. The more that you try and get your right glute towards the floor right now, the more you're going to feel the stretch in this right quad. And you can have those knees open as wide as you need to make it happen. It's definitely more challenging the more that you have your knees towards each other. Deep thoughts. Last two breaths, you can do it. On your exhale, take your time, bring your right leg back in line to meet with your left. Two legs straight ahead of you. Walk your hips back slightly to find a hinge at the hips. Find some length through the crown of your spine. Hands can be at the floor, or you can fold forward for some caterpillar. Still toes flexed back towards your face, just like the dangle that we did before, but with no balancing. As before, if your hamstrings are really tight and this is too much for you, take a generous bend of your knees and bring your belly towards your knees to enjoy a flat back here. Three more breaths. On your next inhale, lift yourself up, bring your hands behind you, feet mat width distance apart. Take a moment to just windshield wipe your legs in opposite directions. And then we're going to come into our half butterfly on the opposite side. So if we're doing the same thing, this time left foot comes forward, right foot comes towards the center line of your body. We'll just be here for 1 minute. You can have your hands behind you. You can start that forward hinge, whatever feels good for you. Work to ground both sit bones down to the floor. Notice if you shifted a lot of weight to your extended left leg and work to find a little pressure from the right side of the body towards the floor. Next, we got sleeping swan or pigeon on the other side. So right leg stays right where it is, right toes to the left side of the mat. Then shift towards your right thigh as you swing your left leg behind you. And then shift up onto your shin, walk your left leg behind you. Do your best to get that leg in a nice straight line, or at least the top of the foot to the floor. Hands can be right here on your mat. You can be on your blocks. You can stay lifted, working to bring that left hip flexor closer towards the mat. Right glute is floating. And if it feels right, you can release yourself down either to the mat or to your block. We got a little more than a minute to go right here. So resist the urge to shift the weight towards that right glute. Maybe even a little squeeze of the right glute to help get the left hip flexor to the floor. If you lowered yourself down to the mat, take your time, bring your hands, palms back underneath of your chest, press yourself up into your pigeon, and then bring the right glute to the floor. Take a generous bend of the left leg as we come into deer pose. It can be really nice and wide like this, or you can walk your legs a little bit closer together. It's your option if you have the sole of the foot on the floor, if you're going to bring the top of the foot to the floor. Find what works for you today and start to press down through your left glute. hands can be on your thighs, behind you, or if it's all a little too much, turn towards that front right leg for an extra little stretch that focuses more on the low back instead of into the legs. If you shifted your weight anywhere from your glutes, start to bring it back to center and then a little weight towards your right leg. We're going to bring a little bit of weight towards your left leg. We're going to bring right leg forward to come into our half saddle. Can you bring that arch and sole of your foot a little closer towards the glute? Remember, you can bring your left knee out more to make it happen. The closer your knees are towards each other, the more challenging half saddle is going to be. You can have your hands in front of you. You can have your hands by your side. You can slowly start to lower yourself down one elbow at a time. Remember, both sides of the body are not the same. I know things are feeling much tighter on this side, so I'm not going to go back as far because I'm being smart for my body today, and I hope you're being smart for your body today too. If you went back onto your forearms or have any sort of a reach behind you, start to walk yourself back up to seated. Weight comes towards the right leg as you bring your left leg out in front of you. Take a moment, bob your knees, windshield wipe your feet, and then take your time. You can work your core right here as we lower ourselves down onto our backs. You can get down any way you want, or you can keep your chest lifted and slowly lower yourself down one vertebrae at a time. And then once you get there, rest the back of the head on the floor. Start to walk the soles of the feet in, align your spine with the mat. Take a tuck of your pelvis. So lower back is down on the floor, and then draw one knee up and then the other for a little knees to chest pose. You can keep your legs nice and wide. If you want even more of a stretch in your hips, you can send the soles of the feet up towards the ceiling. Maybe you can grab hold of your toes or your pants or your shins. And if you still want a little bit more, you can, oh my gosh, you can even extend your legs a little bit longer. Maybe you extend one leg at a time or rock a little bit side to side. Just taking one last minute to be the happiest you that you can be in Happy Baby. I'd be a real happy baby if someone brought me dinner right now. No, no, Fred, I can't believe you actually said no. That was so mean. All right, go ahead. Bring your heels together, make a diamond shape with your legs, and then carefully release both feet back down towards the floor. Now we worked our lower abs a little bit. Open your arms out towards the side. Open your feet mat width distance apart. Make sure your lower back is pressed down on the mat, so a little tuck of your pelvis, and then drop your knees over to the right. A nice wide Spine twist, not so much a spine twist as we're getting one extra stretch into the quads, into the inner thigh, a little for the outer glute. On your next inhale, bring the knees back up towards the ceiling, soles of the feet down onto the floor. Re-implant your lower back, your spine on the mat. Create some space with your shoulders. Take a big inhale. And on your exhale, drop your knees over to the left side of the mat. Can you keep those shoulders down on the mat? The more that you really actively stretch through whichever knee you have towards the back, if we're moving the same, it's the right, the more stretch you're going to feel throughout that whole thigh. On your next inhale, go ahead, send the knees back up towards the ceiling, walk your feet in closer towards each other, and then straighten your legs out as we come into our final savasana. If it feels right for you, you can open your arms nice and wide, you can open your legs nice and wide. You can also try traditional savasana with heels touching, toes fall open, arms right by your side, palms facing up towards the ceiling. One more opportunity together today to melt into the mat, to allow our practice to sink in to our mind, body, and soul. Tune back into your long, slow, deep breaths, making your exhale even longer than your inhale. And once more, start a scan of your body from the top of your head down to your toes. And with every exhale, notice each inch sinking and being supported a little bit more by your mat. Keep breathing through the relaxing sound of having a bird as a companion animal. You're welcome to stay here in this final savasana for as long as continues to honor you. We got in just about 3 minutes today. And if you do decide to just stay and relax and breathe on your mat for a couple more breaths or a couple more minutes, that is amazing. If you want or need or are ready to close out class together, though, take a little wiggle of your fingers, a little wiggle of your toes, and take your time to make your way into a comfortable seated position of your choice. Once you get there, take a couple moments to really ground through your sit bones. Start to find some length again in your spine through the crown of your head. On your next inhale, bring your arms up overhead, bring your palms together, and then bring your hands down to heart center in Namaskar. Thumbs touching on your chest sternum. Take a moment, tuck your chin to your chest, and bow to and honor yourself. Return to whatever the intention was that you set for today's class. If you have any questions or concerns about what I have said or we've done, please let me know. If you have any aches, pains, or issues that you'd like to see a class specifically created around, let me know. It can be our secret. I will email it to you after it's been recorded, and you can enjoy it as much or as little as you like. Till we are together again, remember to think good thoughts, speak good words, eat good foods, do good deeds, and take the time to nourish yourself from the inside out. If it feels right, you can bring your thumb to your third eye, your drishti, ground through your sit bones, lift your heart, your beautiful face, your elbows up towards the ceiling. As you know that the light within me honors, sees, and is so thankful for the light within you. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Namaste.